guys, welcome back. And today, this is kind of a quick little review, because I already talked about this film in December, but I have so many thoughts on it that I just couldn't, not talk about it. I'm going to be talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse again, because I'm doing the Spider-Man re-review series. Once again, not talking about the Amazing Spider-Man movies, but I will be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, most likely this Tuesday. Um, yeah, most likely this upcoming Tuesday, I'll be talking about um, Spider-Man Homecoming. But I'm going to be talking about Spider-Verse again, and once again, this is still my favorite Spider-Man movie, one of my favorite superhero movies, and just one of my favorite movies ever made. Honestly, it still is my favorite movie of 2018, for sure, because I just love it so much. And I think it's amazing in every way, craftsmanship, everything about it I just love. So I'm going to be addressing the main criticisms of this movie that people aim at it, which I actually don't mind. The pop music. People criticize this movie. They made up a lot of their own songs for Post Malone songs for this movie. They don't bother me. I think it works. It's established as the type of music Miles likes to listen to. That doesn't bother me. I think that they're actually really, Sunflower, that song, I think is a very charming song. Miles is just such a relatable character that I can put myself into. I've seen the movie 3 times now, and I just rewatched it. But it's like the whole, your shoes untied. Yeah, it's a choice. And, and what's the other one? How he doesn't know the lyrics, because I actually have that song, and I don't know the lyrics. I can't remember the lyrics all the time. It's just hilarious to me, and I love little details like that. That I really appreciate. And they keep it throughout the film. It's not just in the opening scene, even in the middle of the movie when Peter's like, hey, you need to calm down, how do you relax? And then he just starts singing the song. And once again, he just doesn't know some of the lyrics. I just think that's so perfect. And so real, you know? Kingpin as well is the main criticism I see as well, one of the main criticisms. That doesn't bother me either. I think he's actually a pretty good villain and much better than any of, half of the MCU villains, other than I guess Thanos, Killmonger, Vulture, all those guys. He's much better than something like Ronin or who else? Malekith or some of those villains. I think because he actually, or Red Skull, some of those just cackling evil generic bad guys. Because they give you the emotional pull to that character. They do kind of give it to you at an odd place in the movie, because they just give you that they give you that emotional push at a random part after they escape the science facility or whatever. So I mean, it's kind of an odd place to put it, but I think that they give that character that emotional pull, and that keeps kind of that air of mystery. And then in the finale, they bring back that emotional tug when he's fighting Miles, and then he kind of has that flashback, and we know the emotional current of that because we saw it. And they didn't have to shove it in our faces. So they very subtly and quickly give you that character's give that character a lot of depth. So that doesn't bother me. I think Kingpin's a pretty decent villain, honestly. It's also the comedic effect, which is kind of the self-aware comedy. Some movies are oh hey, I'm self-aware, and then they just kind of do that. They're just hey, we're self-aware, and they don't do anything with that joke. Ralph Breaks the Internet. I saw that movie for the first time recently, and I had a huge problem with that joke at the end of the credits where there's that scene with the bunny and the kitty or whatever, and they're the bunny gets the pancake, and then the bunny blows up, and then whatever the kid is there was a scene in the trailer that wasn't in the movie. But the rest of that scene is just the same from the trailer. So all you're doing is being, hey, we couldn't fit this in the movie, so we're going to put it in the credits. We're clever. No, that doesn't make you clever. That just makes you lazy, I guess. Because you're self-aware, but at the same time, you're just exclaiming the fact that you're self-aware and not doing anything with that fact. I don't know. That just seems kind of stupid to me. But with this movie, they actually use it to a more clever effect. They use a lot of cuts for comedic effect. When Miles goes to the rooftop, you think he's about to jump, and the music just builds, and then it just cuts to him running down the stairs. That's kind of the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, when Tobey Maguire goes to the roof, and the music builds, and then nothing comes out of his hand, and he's like, "Go, Webb!" It's similar to that. which I think is pretty hilarious. And they don't just stick with that type of comedy, because in the first half they use that type of comedy quite a lot, and then they kind of slowly transition out of it. They don't stick with it, which I appreciate. They keep it clever and unique, and keep mixing it up throughout the entire film. I think they do a lot of good stuff with Miles and his family, where it's like, okay, at the core of it, it's kind of a story about Miles and his family. It's not as so much about, like, all of these super people. Because you spend a lot of time with all the spider people and all the super people, and then you kind of think, oh, maybe they're going to ignore the family life. No, that's one of the main driving cores of the film. I think when Uncle Aaron or whatever, like, every little line counts. I think it's very smart writing on the part of Phil Lord and Chris Miller. And I think that it's just very well written in that way, where it's like every little line of dialogue counts. Like, when he's like, how do you know about this underground subway place where we can put up artwork? And Aaron is just like, oh, I have a technician job here. And then you don't actually think about the fact, how is he able to jump over that fence like that? It's like, oh no, because he's like the Prowler or whatever. And I think that sets up an interesting thing where it's like, okay, the Prowler is chasing Miles throughout the entire film, and then you don't think about the fact that they're actually setting up kind of a rivalry between those two characters. But then when it's revealed that it's Uncle Aaron, it's kind of interesting in the way that it's like, okay, they've set up this conflict between Miles and his uncle, but you don't even know it was a conflict between those two characters because you didn't know that it was him. So they said it's like something you don't know about until the second time you watch it, but it's just throughout it, it's like, okay, you set up this relationship, and then in the end, you know, it kind of all ties back in eventually, and I think that's really clever. Very smart writing. And my opinion is softened up on some things from my original review, where I said I thought the Gwen, Miles romance, whatever the heck, was a little forced. I actually think it's pretty sweet, and I don't think it's actually forced at all. I think it works very well in the film. It doesn't take away from the overall story. I think it's pretty cute. I think it's pretty sweet, and I don't think it takes away from the overall film at all. Yeah, that's something that I've come around to since my initial review. Haley Steinfeld does a great job voicing that character. All the voice actors do a great job. They bring in all these. It's just great how they bring in all these distinct characters. It's just so incredible to me that it's like, okay, in this film, it's like, okay, we know we're sick of the formulaic Spider-Man origin. So they don't do that. They like, okay, whatever, we get this, like, Spider-Man introductory thing, and then you get, like, they just randomly introduce these three new characters, Spider-Ham, Spider-Noir, and then Penny Parker and the robot, whatever, Spider, whatever, SPDR. They introduce all these characters in, like, 30 seconds, and they each, at the same time, have their origin story playing, but it's not confusing in any way, and it's very clear, and you're able to be introduced into these new, fun characters that add a lot of great comedic relief, and they introduce them so quickly in such a short amount of time, but you get what their whole thing is. And you know, something I did think about though is he says, I was bitten. Spider-Ham says he was bitten by a radioactive pig, so that means he must have been a spider. How come he doesn't have any, like, 8 limbs? Like, how come he just looks entirely like a pig? Like, I don't know, that just, like, it's for comedic effect, because all the other ones are like, I was bitten by a radioactive spider. Pig. He just says pig, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, how does that work? Were you a spider bitten by a pig? Because if so, how come you don't have more than, like, the, like, proper amount of limbs you're supposed to have? You know, I don't know, that just kind of stood out to me. There are some little things that I want to nitpick about, that I like to nitpick about, which are, I don't like the design of Scorpion in this film. I think it was just, because I see this Scorpion toy in, like, a store near where I live. No one's bought it, so I think no one else likes that design. But I hate the design of Scorpion. Like, it's just, it feels so distracting. It looks like they tried to get that guy from Suicide Squad or whatever mixed with the version from Spider-Man Homecoming, and, like, made him, like, a weird robot guy. Tried to mix him with Doc Ock a little bit. It just feels like a weird amalgamation, and he has a weird accent, and it just, like, the whole design of that character takes away from me. It feels like it was made to sell toys, and then also, like, have something to fight, because it fights the Penny Parker's robot. They just wanted something to have to, like, combat her robot. So I can understand that, but it's just, like, he has, like, robot legs. I'm like, how does that even work? I don't know. It's such a distracting, annoying design to me. and he didn't even really need to be in the film. Because they have Kingpin's little like gang of villains or whatever. Like there's Prowler, him, Tombstone, and there's female Doc Ock, which I think is a great twist actually. Like every time I've watched it with someone new, they did not expect that. I think it's very clever and a very clever take on that character. Um, the animation once again is just so wonderful, and every time I watch it, I notice new things. Like when Miles and Peter are talking about what they're gonna do, and they're just walking up the building, and then like you just see like this guy looking out the window at them walking up the side of the wall. Like I just love little details like that. I love the score as well. I love the soundtrack, but not just the soundtrack, the score is actually quite good. I love the main theme of the movie. And then I also love that the main message, it isn't really about being like, oh, superpowers and being a huge superhero. It's actually more about a smaller connection. And in the end of the movie, Miles says, you know, you can be Spider-Man, and if you didn't know that before, I hope you do now. And by the end of it, the main message of the movie isn't like, you gotta have superpowers and beat people up. No, by the end of the movie, the main message and theme of it all is, um, like you can affect people on a deeper level than that. And in the end, you know, I love when Miles' dad is like calling him. And he says, "Hey, I was wondering if you wanted to go to the police department or whatever and hang up some of your artwork." And in the end, you know, Uncle Aaron dying was not a good outcome at all. But you know, and he feels that he let Miles down, and Uncle Aaron is just disappointed in himself. But it kind of strengthens Miles and his dad's bond in the end. He lets him put up his artwork. They make artwork of Uncle Aaron, and he says, you know, when Miles is in his room and he can't answer the door because he's tied up, and he just says like, oh hey, you know, some people drift apart, and I don't want that to happen to us. And then him realizing, you know, Uncle Aaron died, or Aaron died, Aaron Davis died, and then he realizes, okay, you know, I let myself hold this like hatred for my brother, and in the end, we never got to like make a resolution to that. And in the end, you know, we drifted apart, and then he died, and we didn't get to, you know, like resolve that. And he doesn't want that to happen to him and Miles. And in the end, you know, that makes their bond stronger. I think that's really beautiful, and I think that it's like, you know, anyone, and it's kind of, they leave a little tribute to Stan Lee in the credits, and I think that that is kind of reflective of what they try to emulate in the film, which is, you know, you can affect people when you can do something like that, and just like, you're a real superhero. In the end, it's not about being all flashy and having superpowers. It's about, you can be Spider-Man because that's who Spider-Man is, and he brings people together. And in the end, you know, Peter doesn't want to have children, Peter B. Parker, but in the end, when he goes back to his universe, Miles realizes, you know, he learns from Miles and realizes, you know, I wouldn't mind having children, and it's able to give him the courage to, you know, go back to MJ in the end. And I think that that's like kind of the main underlying message of the movie, which is, once again, you know, that's what makes you a real superhero, is if you're willing to, in the end, if you're able to, you know, affect people around you in that way, and give them the courage to be a hero, I guess. I think that's the main underlying message of the movie, and I think it's just beautiful. There was also a short on the DVD. I bought the DVD last weekend for $15. It went on sale finally at Walmart, and there's a little short called Spider-Man Caught in a Ham, and I feel like it's more geared towards children. I've heard some people, for the first time, I heard someone say, oh, it feels like a kid's movie. This is not a kid's movie. There's a lot of like adult-oriented jokes, and a lot of, not just that, but you know, it has stuff that people from all ages can latch onto. So I don't understand that criticism at all. I don't feel that it is a specifically children's film. Uh, but I feel like the Spider-Man Cotton Ham short, or Spider-Ham Cotton Ham short, is a little bit more geared towards children. I was like, oh wow, the animation style is so weird, and then I realized, oh no, this is just what his world looks like, this Looney Tunes thing, before he goes to the Spider-Verse. Like that's what his little universe looks like. So I thought that was actually kind of cool to see that perspective of it. I wish we could have seen more of that. But that's kind of cool. That part of it is pretty cool. And then there was also I feel like I caught a few references to Sam Raimi's trilogy. Like there are that little flash through at the beginning when Chris Pine, Peter Parker, is giving his little monologue. You see some flashbacks to the Raimi films, which is nice to see, because of it was nice to see that because I just rewatched those films. especially, the dancing down the street thing. We don't talk about that anymore. Yeah. um, but um, trying to think of what else to talk about in this review. I feel like one thing is when the spider people, when they meet all the other spider people, it's like Gwen is like, I think he's a good guy. I think he's gonna get us home. And then in the next scene, they all like kick him on the floor or whatever. They're like, get up, and they basically just beat on him really hard. And I just really hate that. Like, that just makes me really mad at all of the spider people. And then in the end, like, they're just kind of like, oh, we're all nice in the end, and we're all friends. But I just really realized how overly mean they are. Like, Peter B. Parker's like, hey guys, stop. Miles leaves because he's like depressed, and it's like, well, yeah, you guys were really mean to him, and that just really bothers me. It's like, that's really kind of destructive and rude, and I just really hate that scene. Actually, it feels really horrible and out of place in this film. Uh, it's just kind of, I don't know, it just really feels out of character because Gwen is like, I believe in him, he'll get us home, and then she's also joining in on beating him down, and they're all like, I don't know if he can do it, I don't know if he's worthy, I don't know, that scene just really, bothers me. But other than that, there's not really much that bothers me in the film. I think it's a nearly perfect film. Like I said, there's some things like that bother me. Maybe they don't bother other people, but that scene just really bothers me personally. It just feels like a very destructive way of building a team for all the spider people to do that to Miles. I don't like Scorpion's design, but he doesn't really affect the story in any way, and that's really the only character design that bothers me. Like, some people I've seen say they don't like Kingpin's character design. That doesn't bother me. So yeah, the main purpose of this review is, once again, it's a quicker review. I just wanted to discuss this film, building up to Spider-Man Far From Home, to talk about it a little bit more, because my first initial review is just kind of me talking about moments I liked. In this review, I wanted to go more in-depth into the film, and talk about what I really love about it, and just kind of give you updated thoughts, and look at it more in depth. So yeah, let me know if you've seen Into the Spider-Verse. Let me know what your thoughts are on it. Do you love it? Do you hate it? I don't know why you hate this spectacular movie. It's still my favorite Spider-Man movie. You can't change my mind. If you have a negative comment, you'll be blocked. No, I don't know. But no, I don't want to see too much negativity on this review. But yeah, let me know what you thought of my review and what you think of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And yeah, on Tuesday I'll probably be talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, and then next weekend probably Spider-Man Far From Home. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.